Okay, hello. Welcome to the Blue Abroad Show here on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. It is Monday, the 22nd of July. We are here with Pommy moments after the ratings, less than 24 hours after our round 19 win over the North Melbourne Footy Club. Pommy, what up?
What up? Mate, honestly, excited for this.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? I can't wait for this. It's going to be exciting. Because you always get me when it's an awkward game. Pom just, I figured after all this time, you just let me come on after the 80-point wins.
After the granny, after the flag, I'm booking you in.
I better get after the fucking grand final win. Tell you.
I would have thought so.
Mate, honestly, I couldn't give a fuck if you are my colleague on this show. I am having that spot.
Hey, we got
babies.
Yeah. Hey, we've got so much to get through. We've got a game to recap. I don't think it'll take long, to be honest. It's one of those. Lots of bits and pieces of news. Tom de Koning injury, brand new Heritage Guernsey launched, looks incredible. We're going to show you the video that they've put out with the new campaign. Just lots to get through, and then we're going to look ahead because we're playing in 4 sleeps. 3 sleeps. That's
There's
crazy.
Only one more sleep till Christmas.
Yes. So, anyway, we welcome everyone who's tuning in. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Are you from home? Have you just come from the ratings? Let us know. We are powered by Cannoleria. Be sure to check them out. Pommy, I really don't want to talk about the game too much. I want to cover everything that needs to be covered. We've just gone extensively through every player, gone through the ratings, but I think we can do this pretty efficiently, and then we can move on to what's ahead of us because it feels like that kind of point in the season. Does it not?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough out there, isn't it? It's tough out there. I mean, we are balls deep in flag swamps, are we at the moment? And you've got to negate the crocodiles, you've got to negate the minefields, you've got to negate all of it. And this was a big banana skin game. We talked about it in my preview that we were expecting 3-4 goals. We weren't expecting big. And I always, now we're good. And this is probably my best advice for everyone at home. I've done so many previews and reviews when we were shit playing second on the ladder.
Yeah.
So now what I do is I look at the game and I go, what would I say to you guys and girls at home to give you some hope when everyone's telling you you're going to lose by 100? And I wrote down in my notes, if I was North, I'd be saying, make it hard from the stoppage. That seems to be an issue with the Blues. Put some pressure on them, make them ask questions of themselves and see how long they will let us beat up on them and see if they've got the balls to take us on, because we were definitely vulnerable, weren't we? Let's be honest, we were vulnerable. And you could see it, the way the boys played. They were nervy, they were kicking long, they sat back, they paid too much respect to North. And I think this is the culture shift. You look in the top 7, particularly, all the top 7 have been a granny or at least made semis at least more than once. We're the elephant in the room, the big, fat, pink elephant. You know, we're blowing confetti. No one likes us. No one wants us there. We've come to sit at the big table and everyone's like, who are these dickheads? And we've got to earn that right. And at the moment, we haven't quite earned it and we don't know about it. Daddy's died. He's left us $1 million. We're having dinner with Elon Musk and we don't belong there. We don't belong there. But we're trying to fit in. We're trying to learn. And this was a big game. Can I tell you what? Look at how some people have reacted when we've won. We've won. Imagine what they would have done if we'd lost. 3 in a row.
Yeah. Said it in preview, felt it all week, said it in the review. It was just one of those games. By the way, those of you watching at home, please send through your 1-paragraph summary or a couple of sentences, 1 sentence summary of round 19. But it was honestly just tough. I mean, you win by too much, it's only North. You win by not enough, you're not playing well enough, you can't win a flag. Sydney and Brisbane are playing better. You lose, You're burning down the club. There was just nowhere really to go that was going to get us thinking positively about this. Maybe unless we had a 1x120, then it would have been a real statement,
Yeah, and back to my analogy I said in the ratings about my first time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you've got to be there to get better, haven't you? Do you know what I mean? The more you do it with the more different people, you learn a bit of self-control.
Yep.
And this is it. Do you know what I mean? We're learning to get into minute 5.
Yeah. Hello, JC from Uganda. This would probably be the first time someone's tuned in from there, I would have thought.
You're not one of the ex-French colonists, so I can't speak French to you because you speak Swahili in Uganda and English. So I was going to say bonjour, JC, but that would have been a complete detriment. So you're right, mate. How you doing, Sparrow? You guys speak English and Swahili, so you can understand me.
Yeah. So that's that. What were the main themes and issues from this game, if anything, that you're going to take forward and remember from this game?
I think the return of the defense and the forward half pressure and playing territory, which was, I think, our real strength against the good sides, was that when there was plan A, transition, and remember, I know everyone talks about transition and turnover. It's really important, but it's not when you've got the ball. So using soccer again, we talked about Man City earlier. You watch Man City struggle against teams that are used to having 20% possession. They pressure them, and Pep's sides genuinely slip up once or twice against these sides because it's all well and good when you're used to not having the ball, which is what turnover and transition is. When you've got the ball a lot, that's when you're vulnerable, when you don't know how to use it. And early, we learned quite good. Early season, it was get the ball forward when there wasn't an option, and we'll just pressure it and pressure it and pressure it, and hopefully we'll break teams. We saw that in the second half, but in the first half, that was probably as bad as the Blues could execute a game plan against a side that knows you're in a bit of strife. And that's something that I want to learn against 17th, because this is costly. If this was against Port and we lose, or we show this, people are going to question it. We've got to get used to it. And I do think the Blues, Collingwood have really suffered it this year. Last year, the whole narrative was you can't win it, you're the underdogs, you don't deserve to be here. Now everyone gives them too much respect, and you can see they can't adjust. They haven't got all these beautiful words Fly talks about McRae, when he's doing these shithouse analogies about cooking dinner with his mum. They mean fuck all when you haven't got heart. The Blues are having to learn that. And you know what? They did pretty well. I don't think it was a great performance, but it was a performance that won. And sometimes it's better to learn in wins than losing. So you know what? It's still not there yet. That stoppage and clearance work is alarming, particularly in the second. It looked like men versus boys. But once they get that right, and it will come right, I promise you that. I guarantee it. They'll get it right because the team is about this. That's all they know. And it's quite easy to flip back to it 2 years ago when this is all we were good at. It will come. They've just got to find that happy medium, and the balance is coming. So a lot of work to do. We know TDK. It's probably shifted the plan big style, but I do think it shifts it in the right direction quicker than fannying about like we have been. We're kind of not dipping our feet in and jumping in at the moment, and I think Voss is going to have to jump in.
Yes, that's a great point. We're going to touch on TDK and Pito and Ruck in a moment. I just want to round off with the coaches' votes, so we have a bit of an indication as to how it all played out. So Harry Sheezel got the 10, Patrick Cripps got the 8, so 5 and 4 from each coach, respectively. Tristan, I'm assuming that's how it would have played out. Yeah, Tristan Sherry 5, Luke Davies-Uniacke 3, Charlie Curnow 2, Tom de Koning 1, Adam Sard 1, Charlie Curnow 2. Yeah.
I think that's fair, though. I mean, you've got to remember when you look at the players who performed well, North have got to have some, haven't they? They've got to have some. I mean, LDU played well. I'm surprised Bailey Scott wasn't in them votes as well.
Yeah?
To be honest. I mean, Clark obviously doesn't fucking like the poor bloke. But I thought Bailey Scott was a bit of a nightmare for the Blues. He's got a bit of an engine on him. But I agree, Sheasel was probably the best on. Cripps was definitely close. Tristan Jerry and LDU were brilliant. And halfback flankers in the votes never get a lot as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame.
Hey, have you got... Oh,
Got anything you
I'm
want?
going to be a pain in the ass. Can you grab up the team heat map that we just did for the ratings?
Adam sad.
Because I think for those who don't watch the ratings, I think it's a nice little, first of all, a window into watching the ratings. I don't know why you wouldn't be watching them, but secondly, I think it's important to give while we have you as the guest, to break down the matchup.
Be loved.
I don't mind spending every day.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just break this down. This is the story of the match. A lot of talk about leakage from defensive half. That showed up again. What are you finding about the balance of the team?
Yeah, so this was a big shift from the last 2 weeks, so it's getting better. We're in a bit of a funk, though. Let's not beat around the bush. The defensive half scores are really interesting for me because the Blues had such a positive rebound rate, which I've been saying this a lot on the reviews. This isn't quite mirroring reality, right? Because when you're having that, you would expect this to be quite high, and it wasn't. It wasn't as good as theirs, and we had such a healthy rebound 50 rate. It's not funny, but there are positives here. The forward half scores have been really down in the last couple of weeks, and this has been our bread and butter. And Voss talks about identity, and he talks about defence, and I think people get misunderstand. Defence doesn't mean the back line. The turnover scores coming from midfield and forward half was where the Blues were at the start of the year when we were playing really good football. And that's what we want. The big area here for me is the stoppage and the clearance areas. Both of these were down for both sides. It wasn't healthy. The Blues have got to find a way. And you can see, we talked about it in the ratings, this big gap between the centre clearance line, the halfway, and the arc is being really undermanned by the Blues and not attacking it hard. So the Blues have really got to look at this area. We're playing one extra behind the ball. We've started to play man for man, which is a very unusual Voss strategy in the stoppage and clearance. That's never been a case, especially in 2021 when we were so dominant. 2023 when we're so dominant from this facet. Voss like to play the extra ahead of the ball. We're kind of flirting with it. And the fact TDK's there, you genuinely see Voss never plays the extra behind the ball because it's so slow with the ball movement. So this is a big, big, big area here where you're probably going to see now Voss has to do it. Voss has to do it now.
So let's use this as a segue to unpack the Tom de Koning news. So we found out that he had a fractured foot and a punctured lung. The fractured foot would have happened in that first quarter. He went off, assuming he had a jab to come back on, played out the game with the fractured foot. Kind of reminds me of Kurt Angle. I won an Olympic gold medal with a broken freaking neck. Then he gets a knock. Then he gets a knock from Sherry, and plays one of the better quarters that he's played. So warrior effort from Tom de Koning. Sad to see him out for the rest of the season. They did say that there's going to be a reassessment during the pre-finals bye, but let's just talk about the next 5 weeks. We're not going to have Tom de Koning for sure. How does this balance change, and what do you think we can expect with Pito as the sole ruck now?
All I can hear is Kurt Angle's theme music. I'm
going to go back there, and when I come back, I demand the respect.
Oh, fucking hell, sorry. I'm totally thrown me, but it's going to be... TDK...
Oh, Scott, this is Team Pito love over here, mate. Get off it.
Do you know what I mean? I'm not... look, I haven't fallen out with Pito. I've been a big Pito fan. I think all my content has been trying to say I think Voss knows the issues and he knows the fallacies of playing two.
Yeah.
It affects, and then he's moved that kind of two doesn't become one. The famous Spice Girls song. It doesn't work with rucks. So then he's transferred it to midfielders. And that's not working now, right? So he's really trying to find that happy medium. And sometimes the best way to find a solution is don't fucking be an Einstein. And now he has to. It's sad that we've lost TDK. Incredibly sad. Shows what kind of a hero he is as well. Punctured lung is banter, isn't it? It's banter to play. It's banter to play. I mean, fuck me. If this was Warfare, he'd win a VC. Do you know what I mean? That's it. That's the kind of shit you win VCs for. But now Pitternet's got a job to do. And this probably makes the job easier for Voss in the terms of now he's got to commit to Pitternet. He can't get creative, right? He has to play Pitternet. Murkoff, miles away. O'Keefe, miles away. He's just returned from the stupidest injury of all time as Hudson O'Keefe as well. So I don't want him anywhere near the senior 11 if he thinks it's a good idea to take a specky at the end of training. Don't go near my seniors. And Murkoff's miles away. So it's got to be Pitternet. So that makes it easy for him for that avenue. That answers a question. And it's good for Pitternet because Pitternet's not going to have to come onto Twitter at the end of the game and say he should have been TDK because TDK is not playing. Right? So that's a big yes. Now it's about finding that substance around him. And we talked about Jerry and Shiesel. This is probably now why, ironically, seeing Mackay work up the ground as the defensive outlet, that's what you'd have to do when Pitternet is in the team. That's what you've got to do when Pitternet's in the team because Pitternet can't do that. To see Walsh outside of the inside 50, you've got to do that when Pitternet's there because you've got to keep him fresh because he needs the burst. So suddenly, sometimes the best ideas come out of your ass. And accidentally last week, it was happened. So I'm looking forward to seeing this. You know what? Call me stupid. I've got a good vibe. I think by accident, we have just been kissed on the dick with the fix.
Yeah.
It's got to work. How's that? Yeah. It's got to work.
Yeah, there's no choice. Yeah, you've got no choice. I mean, look, when Tom went down, said this a couple of times now, immediately when I watched the replay, they said it as well. The theories around 1 ruck, 2 ruck, yes, we looked great when Tom was rucking on his own. Granted, some of those games were against, the Geelong ruckmen who aren't great. I mean, his brother playing his first game in the ruck. Goldstein was in that patch as well. But when Tom went down, there was the harrowing reminder that, oh shit, if we play 1 ruck and that ruck gets hurt, then we're looking at Cripps in the ruck for the rest of the game. We're looking at Harry in the ruck for the rest of the game, maybe Sam Durden yesterday. So with Pitto, do we still need to consider having another ruck in there? Or is it just Pitto? The body's big enough. He should be able to withstand the rigors of this position that is brutal.
You always need 2 rucks, unfortunately, Terry. You always do. Right? Someone's got to help the other guy out. But the good news is that when you are a Pitternet type ruck, they genuinely do 90% of the rucks. So you look at Pitternet, he did 78. Last time he played on his own, which was round 16, he did 78 of the ruck contests, right? And he did it solo. Not one person helped in a ruck contest. So that is good. That is good. He's going to do 90% of it. Is he got any help? Right, let's see. Is there any ruckman who could help? Murkoff, no. Right, so VFL is a different kettle of fish. He went up against a baby ruckman this week, and he was okay, was Murkoff. He was okay. He kicked 2 goals. He rested on the forward line. He was playing on a guy 5'8", though. And when you are 200 centimetres tall, you should fucking kick 2 goals. I mean, like, you wouldn't say I should play when I'm in the backyard garden. My son's 4'4", and you see me take 2 marks on him. So same thing, right? So Murkoff's still in the development phase. So is that. Carlton can get away with Kennedy, Cripps, whoever it is, doing some forward ones. You've seen Wheater do back half ones. Carlton need to do 6 to 10 rucks around the stoppage. So
Yeah.
anyone can do that. Anyone can do that. Because when you've got Harry in the ruck, when you've got Wheater in the ruck, when you've got Kennedy in the ruck, Carlton have to play a defensive, pacey midfield to help it out. So basically that helps Carlton out. Where the confusion gets is when there's TDK. 2 different types of ruckman. One takes off, one stays stagnant. You see that game we played 2 ruckman, where we played 50% even split. It was fucking the worst thing you've ever seen in your life. Because the midfield were like, what the fuck's going on? Like, he runs. This guy doesn't. He just stands there and opens doors. Now these boys are going to get a bit of continuity for 6 weeks with the same ruckman. And let's remember, 12 months ago, TDK, we hoped would become this. He showed signs. Before, Pitternet was the solo ruckman. This is a chance now. The door is open for Pitternet. He's a very solid player. So let's get around him. Because you know what? I sometimes look at this. Let me tell you a little story. You know, when you were a kid, right? And I think we've all had these moments. You know, when you try really hard and you get a C or a B and it's not your subject, sometimes being told it should have been an A breaks your heart. Sometimes it's just as bad as being saying he's shit. Let's get behind him because Pitternet can play football. The midfield has dominated stoppage more with Pitternet than with TDK. Right? What is the issue? Stoppage defence, bottom 3 in the league. Scores against, bottom 5 in the league. Pitternet has got to do it. There's no if, buts, maybes. This is now when TDK took over from Pitternet. TDK had to become Pitternet. Had to. Now, Pitternet has to reclaim the throne as the senior ruckman. And you know what? He's going to fucking do it.
It's going to be a premiership ruckman, a cult hero.
No, I promise. He's going to do it. Pitternet's made of fucking big shit. He's going to do it. We're going to be around him.
I think so. I think it's an important point. Yeah. I think the continuity part is a really good point too. You know exactly. You've got 5 weeks now to play off Pitto's hands at training every day. Get used to it. Know exactly where he's going to be. Synergize again. And also, I think it gives Pitto a chance to develop as well. So by the time Tom comes back, whether that's finals this year or next season, whatever it's going to be, Pitto's going to get a chance to develop as well. And John Holden said something really earlier in the chat. This is why. It's not about having 1 or 2 rucks in the team. It's about the list. This is why it's so important. Like, thank goodness we have him on the list. I think it's disrespectful to call him Tom's backup because he could start for a lot of teams in this league.
Mate, and like Samuel asking the question, what's the point of having Murkoff and Hudson O'Keefe on there? Go back and see TDK 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago. It takes a long time. They age like reverse fucking dogs. 7 years for a midfielder is 1 year of a fucking ruckman. Takes a while. These are very wet behind the ears. If we're bringing Murkoff, like, honestly, you know, some of the, if you go and watch Twitter at the moment, some people are saying season's over. Playing Murkoff, season's over. The guy is just beating okay VFL players. We're talking big man ting now. Big man ting. Hudson O'Keefe want him nowhere near for another year. He's working on his craft and he's good. The potential. We can't look at what happens if Pitternet gets ill or injured. Because it's if onlys. If onlys, do you know what I mean?
Mum and Dad had wheels should be a bike.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? If me auntie was 10 octaves lower, she'd be me uncle. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we can't think like that. I deal in absolutes. Absolutes, man. That's what I deal with. So, at the moment, Pitternet is the best option. And you know what? Bugsbell makes a great comment. Thank fuck we've got Pitternet. Like, thank fuck. Because if we were like, Jesus Christ. Like, thank you. Thank you, Pitt. And you know what? I think, I really think we've got to look back. 2 years ago, Pitternet was numero uno. And we were complaining, TDK's not ready. And then TDK took the opportunity. Now it's time for Pitternet to take the fucking it back. Own it. Own it and take it. So he's 95% ruck. Just check the stats when he's solo ruck. 95.
Yeah.
So that's about 8 ruck contests without him. So all he's got to do is ruck, fuck off. Ruck, fuck off. And
well, it's another thing as
I'll
well.
do 6 ruck contests if you pay me 100k.
Mate, we're talking about the midfield as well. They've got to take some ownership as a group. I mean, a bit of commentary around Charlie this week and not being good enough, and he's a little bit off. I think our midfield has gotten off scot-free from the criticism that they need as a group.
Second quarter, 150 pressure acts. Right? Pressure rating. Diabolical.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Diabolical, that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I used to put that much pressure when I used to try and run away from Natalia Roden in year 7 playing Kiss Chase. Like, do you know what I mean? That's the equivalent. I wanted to be kissed. You know what I mean? I was like, oh no, please don't kiss me. So that's what the equivalent is. But I've got a question, actually. While we talk about pressure rating, I don't want to be like everyone else and just say this is what pressure rating means. Because, it's like when people use the phrase gaslighting. Pressure rating is gaslighting. No one actually knows what the fucking scientific definition of gaslighting is. They just say it when no one agrees with them. So, welcome to POM World, where we actually fucking explain shit. So, pressure rating, I want you to think of as a point system. So, I want you to think, when you see 152, that is fantasy scoring. And our fantasy scoring is allocated in 4 methods. We have physical pressure, and thank you to Adrian Solano for this question. What is it? It is broken down into 4 facets. Physical pressure. So physical pressure is direct physical contact affecting the spoil of a ball. So that's an actual thing. And that is allocated 3.75 points. So that's like a tackle.
A tackle's worth 3.75 pressure rating.
Yeah, so that's like actually fucking doing something. Like, then you've got closing acts. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more, what the fuck is that? Stay with me though, chat. I'll hold your hand. So the big difference here is this is doing something that could become a tackle that forces you to get rid of the ball. So, like, almost a tackle, but not a tackle. So you're closing down space. You're about to tackle. You're doing that in front of the kick. You're shouting, I'm behind you, I'm behind you, I'm behind you. And you're like within touching distance. You are there. That gives you 2.25 points. Right? Then this is where it gets really confusing. Chasing acts. These are worth 1.5 points. So this is applying pressure like closing acts, but you're not near them. You're not in tackle distance. Your best way to describe this, handball out of the back, right? Terry gets the ball out of the back of a stoppage. I am just underneath the ruckman. He blocks me getting to him. I get round the big biscuit arse, and Terry's got time to kick it, but I'm making the effort to attack him. I'm making the effort. If it was a second longer, I'd be there, but there's probably 2 players width with me. And then this one's my favourite one, and fuck knows how they do this. This is done by eye, though, just so you know. Eye and GPS data.
So eye and GPS data? So someone is in the box.
So, corralling. You'll love this one. So this is just basically being there.
Just existing.
Yeah, so like you can never score 0 out of 20 in a spelling test because you put your name, but there was always that kid who made the exception to the rule. This is he was there, 1 out of 10. He turned up. You know what I mean? So that's occupying space, but this is it. You've got to be in front of the ball carrier. So this doesn't count for being behind. You're basically in your position where you should be. So this is why Carlton scored a very low amount, because 70% of that quarter was a corral act. Basically means you were there, but you had no chutzpah about you. You were just there. And
Yeah.
that links perfectly, Terry, to your question. How do we fix the midfield? Easy. The midfield don't give enough in self-preservation at the moment. They don't want to make that mistake. They've got to put the effort in. They've got to come off their man, be bold. They can't hide with the one extra player behind them anymore. And you look at that second quarter, it was so limp and conservative. They wanted the ball to come into the back half of the ground. That's where our strength is. The best side at rebounding 50. One of the lowest, hardest teams to score against, Carlton, right? Statistically, from where we concede shots, but we are fourth worst at conceding goals. It's an embarrassing stat because it doesn't make sense, but you've got to put the pressure on. So that's why always look at tackles. I always say pressure acts should equate to tackles. That's the easiest way to get around pressure rating. When your pressure rate stat acts are too high and not enough tackles, it's basically like being the big guy taking your shirt off in the bar, but we know he won't throw a punch. We want to be the guy who stays quiet, just puts our drink down and knock the cunt out.
Do you know what it reminds me of? There was a particular tackle in the third quarter where I turned to my brother next to me. I said, okay, they're switched on here. It was I believe George Hewitt made the tackle, but Sam Walsh came in and it was like a double tackle. And what we weren't seeing in the second quarter was what we started seeing from early in the third, a real commitment to have not just one body on the ball carrier, but making sure we swallowed the ball carrier. So yeah, that was the main difference there. I did not know that the pressure rating was split into four like that. So they're almost giving you a participation award with that final tier, like corralling.
As Bugs Bell says, they have kind of just made a fucking stat up. So people talk about this way too much, and honestly, you know, like narcissist gets thrown around. Like 20 years ago, you were just a cunt, right? now there's elements of being a cunt. One of them is being a narcissist, and it's like when you see when your mate's called a narcissist, it's because he hasn't agreed with them, and you're like, it's just a fucking dickhead, mate. Like, just call him a twat, like I do. It's become that word, but it's really complex. It is a good indicator, though. It is a really, really good indicator of what it is. But the problem is Terry's just explained it how a layman would see it. Effectively, high pressure is two people on a player. It's people making sure. It's basically the rating of making sure people don't get through. In my day, defending in soccer and rugby was, if you really gave a shit, you'd do it. Like this was the I love you stat. My pop used to say, if you loved me, you'd tackle for me. That was one of his coaching things. I used to find it bizarre because I was the only one who loved him. I was like, the other two cunts couldn't give a fuck, mate. But he's right. It comes from here, right? It comes from in your heart. It's a bit self-pride, preservation. It's why Hewitt does it. So you've got to put that pressure on. Make sure. And that is when you come off your man and you do number one, the physical pressure act, not the corralling or the just being there. You know, that 1.25 for just being there, being in front of your man. You need to turn that 1.25 into the 3, where you actually do it. You go, right, fuck you. The ball's not coming to you because I'm going to kill the guy with the ball.
Right.
And that's where you get them 200s. That's where Carlton get 200s. So Terry nailed it. Pressure rating, second quarter shit, third quarter good, because they came off their man and they attacked the ball carrier knowing they'd win the ball. It's having that belief.
Yep. Hey, Louis. Are you the same Louis that I saw at the South Melbourne market? We were talking about this. We were talking about this exactly.
What was he saying?
We were talking about he was so bumped into Louis at the South Melbourne market. Great guy. We're talking about a range of things, and he was talking about our tackling, and he was talking about when that second player comes in, that's when he knows that we're on. And against GWS, he noticed it fall off a bit, broken tackles, etc., etc. So good to see you, Louis. I'm pretty sure that's you.
Oh, did I say the C word? Is that what?
Like 6 times. I was like, oh wow, he's really on one tonight.
I just say I want to apologise, but
no, it's fine. Hey, Louis.
Just imagine I said narcissist. That'll make you feel better in chat.
hey, I want to play.
But no, Louis makes a great observation. You know Carlton are on when they do that because that is our staple. If you said to me, if you were an alien, right, and you said, "Oh, Dan," the alien's like, and I'll translate. He's like, "Oh, what the fuck are they doing?" I'd be like, "Oh, they're playing football, Mr. Alien." He'd be like, and I was like, "Oh, how do Carlton play? We're first to the ball, right? We're not very good skill-wise, but how we hide it is we get the ball forward in the areas we want and we make sure no one comes with the ball back at us. That is the DNA." So I think Louis and you were spot on. I'm just upset you talked to someone else about football. I feel like just found out you're having an affair.
Man,
I'm only joking.
You never know when you'll find a fan of the channel. Hey, check this out. It's the Heritage Guernsey.
How American is this?
Cool,
Don't know if
right?
he's saying jump or chub, but I've definitely got a chub after seeing that Guernsey.
Look at that. I think that's cool.
That is get in and around my mouth. That is good.
Take my money.
I'm actually buying one now.
Look, right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Where do I find it? Chat.
I want one too. I mean, I saw it while we were live.
Chat. Just pretend I'm an old man.
Yeah, where do we get one? I want one so I can give it away as well. Okay, I'll have to do it later. But I want to give one away.
Oh, look at
I think
Terry.
it's just cool. Although, wouldn't mind a elevated monogram. But you know what? One thing at a time.
Terry, you have not talked about a raised monogram with me. Kinnell.
I had
Wonder
to.
why I swear, chat. This is why I swear.
Yeah, this guy. Carlton Shop website? Great. Okay, I'll have to get there
It's
later.
hidden away, Terry, in Puma.
Why they do that?
Don't know. Can you get it in long sleeve? Shut up, Debbie. Stop teasing me.
What did she say? Long sleeves a la Mott's Ishmi. Oh, you can get it in long sleeve? Yeah, that's.
Oh, you can?
You can.
Ah, Debbie, give us a wave. Debbie, give us a wave.
Okay, I found it. Okay, great. Oh, fantastic.
This is it. Albert, you're right. This is our Taylor Swift, mate. This is our Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Trying to get Taylor Swift tickets. Yeah. Okay. Locked in. Where were we? What's another topic I want to bring up tonight? Last Tuesday on Footy Abroad, we were met with the updated rules that are going to come into effect for the NGA. But there was one particular rule with draft picks this year that I don't know if everyone watching is aware. And it's very important. It has ramifications. A number of rule changes will come. One of them being the ability to trade future picks. What has been the case right now is you get to the end of a season, you can trade a future pick for the following year. What is going to come into effect now is you can trade a future pick for the following 2 seasons. So you essentially get like a whole, it's kind of like creating money. It's kind of like giving clubs a fresh war chest. So Pom, can you break this down? What is the impact? Because I think the big fear for a lot of Carlton fans is, the AFL is screwing us over, conspiracy. They're trying to make us not get the Camporelli boys. This is going to help us get the Camporelli boys for sure.
Well, yeah, spot on. So genuinely, when you go into this draft, you'd have 2024's pick, which is whatever it'll be. Let's just say we finish where we are, 17th. Let's just say it's 17th, right? And then you get 2025's next year, a speculative pick. Now they've given 2 years worth, so you get an extra first. You've got like a Brucey bonus now. So you know when you used to beg your dad for a raise on your allowance, he's giving you the full month basically now. So that guarantees it. It's interesting though. The NGA is a fascinating pickle of fish. It's a fascinating pickle of fish because the AFL want to make it harder to get players. So then they open up the NGA for Victorian clubs, which makes it even more lopsided because we're not only doing it now because North cried about it last year, but we gave them the pick so they could get Colby McKercher, but they're still crying about it because they somehow snaked an extra pick. It's genuinely head blaggable. So that would say to me now the father and sons won't be changed this year. And by the looks of it, this article was the proposed changes, and this is what's been verbally agreed. So I don't think you'll see any father and son changes. But I mean, as we predicted 6 months ago, the Camporellis play a position that no one cares about. So they're sliding down now as the on-ballers, the key defenders, the key forwards, and the Rucks make their way. So for NGAs, it doesn't affect us, but that extra pick does make us excitable because it means that we can have a bit of excitement.
I think I saw as well, we are going to be combining the zones. So we're going to be able to get players from the Yarra Valley Football League as well as the Northern Football League.
Which is nice because I think historically over the last 100 years, about 5 players have played from there now. So that goes up from 2.
Hey, shout out the Northern Footy League, mate. That's where the Como Bears play.
Hooray, yeah, the boys! But,
The boys.
no, it's a fascinating one. I mean, the NGA is fascinating in itself. To be fair, like it's good. It's good. Matt Whitlock. Oh dear, chat. Matt Whitlock, very good call. Very good call. Hey, say what, chat? Are you always this clever on a Monday?
Hey, I just got a Guernsey.
You did?
Yeah, I just got one. Yes.
Oh, Terry. Oh, Terry.
Put his name on it, Guernsey.
On the stream.
All right. I've got the old school Guernsey coming. It's a large, and we're doing it for a giveaway. Details to come. Fantastic. All right, Pom. Next on the agenda, can we talk about the VFL and can we get some context about what happened? Because the big thing is Binns 47-3, phenomenal game by the way. But can we talk about it from the contextual point of who in the VFL play to a level that puts them in frame for selection?
I think if you're brutally honest about that game and you look at it like in the realms of, I think it's body of work. I always say body of work. And then you look at the seniors, I think only Kemp, if I'm totally honest with you, and Pitternet now because obviously we've lost him. I mean, Jackson Binns, great game. Great game. Let's not get away from it. I mean, when you have 47 touches, 13 marks and three goals, it's good. But the big question mark on Jackson Binns has been his defensive application and what the Carlton's wings all have in abundance. Akers, Ollie, always in that high 20s pressure acts, always in that high tackling fear. He was playing Collingwood VFL, and all due respect, that team is probably one of the weakest VFL teams I've ever seen. Ever seen. You go back the week before when they played Footscray, Binns was poor. The week before, he was okay. So this isn't last year where he was killing it on the outside. This is more of a redeveloped role. So Is it enough to play seniors? I mean, it depends. The week before, 21 touches and being decimated on your wing. Is that good enough just because you have one good game? For me, no. And I still want to see Binns work for it. There's a reason he's been in VFL for so long, and you ain't going to get that. Like, I'm a big advocate on this. I watch a lot of VFL and a lot of junior football. So I think by that stage, you get a pretty good indication of how it steps up. He's got a long way to go, in my opinion.
Yeah, fair.
Like, I wasn't impressed. Like, I mean this with all due respect. If you took me 47 touches and it was 27, I don't think he was best on. If you take 20 touches off it, I don't think he was best on.
Look, Friday night, Port Adelaide, I just realised we've got 14 minutes to go. I got into a flow state just then, by the way. I've just snapped out of it. But we've got 14 minutes to go. I want to touch on Friday night and further to that conversation. What about Jack Martin? Brody Kemp's a clear one. McGovern's a clear one. What about a Jack Martin? Do you reintroduce him into the side sooner rather than later? Or do you force him to show consistent form?
My question to you on that, though, is...
Yep.
One, has his form been good the last 2 weeks in the VFL? No. And two, if you think it is, do you want to change to an extra tall in the forward line? Has that been an issue? I don't think it has. I think our forward line has been pretty schmick.
No, look, it's a good point. It's a good point. It's funny how that narrative changes from the start of the year to the end of the year. With one ruck now and no third tall, that's where I would say maybe we want to look at that. But I mean, if the Smalls are performing the way they are, we've got Motlop in the frame right now, back for his first game. Fogarty's been a really important piece to the puzzle. Matt Owies, who we touched on at length in the ratings, kicked 26 goals for the year from 18 games. It's a fair point. Unless you change that. Well, who's the seventh? Is that like an Elijah Hollins or a Matt Cottrell?
Yeah, I mean, Cunners is there.
Cunners is there.
Do you know what I mean? I think you saw Cottrell come back early. So Cottrell had the fitness, he just didn't have the touch. So I think he's the only exception to the rule who's been brought back quickly. But I think that's just for his body of work and the fact he can do more than one thing. So I think that was more of a necessity from Voss. Like, Jack Martin doesn't run very far. And you said you've got a ruck. Like, why? Like, I'm not questioning it. I'm just saying I don't see it. Why would we go taller? Like, we're already too tall. That's the argument when you've got Pitternet. Like, I just don't see who I'd bring out of that forward line to warrant him.
Same. What would Jack Martin need to do in order to come back into the side then, in your view?
Kick a goal for a start. I mean, he's played Footscray, and he was against a guy that I think 2 hours before the game was helping with the click and collect at Coles, and he didn't kick any goals. And then against Collingwood, I mean, Collingwood is the worry for me, that VFL game, because that VFL game, like, honestly, fuck me, that... Like, I thought it was a joke by Collingwood's VFL team last week. Yeah. With all due respect, I didn't realise it was actually serious. Like, he should have kicked 8 goals against the guys he was matching up on. Like, Mason Cox was, like, literally their best player on the field. That says everything. No disrespect to Mason Cox. He's an AFL footballer, but fucking hell.
Fair.
All right. I'm not being harsh on Jackson. Like, someone asked, is Pom being harsh on Jackson? I love Jackson. Like, I was a massive advocate of him in the juniors. I love him. But just for me, I hate giving him a game because he's had 40 touches against Collingwood VFL team. I mean, I'm not dropping. Like, for me, if you drop Ollie, then we have the conversation about Cunningham first. For me, Cunners comes in. If you drop in Ollie, because everyone wants to sack Ollie. right? So if that's the case, Jack Carroll needs to stay in based on last week. So there's so many people ahead of him, and I know what he's going to give us, and we don't play him in that VFL role in the seniors. So I don't see the Akers defensive half transition. So if they play him, I don't think it's fair on Ollie that Ollie would have to go back to being a defensive winger. So Jackson Binns can do what he does in the VFL, because I think Ollie's earned the right to be the aggressive one.
Fair.
I think that's the way you create team spirit. Ollie should get reward for being the whipping boy of everyone, because people don't understand his role. Like, Ollie gets bullied because people can't be asked to learn football. And that's not fair.
Fair. Hey, when you see this, and those of you playing at home, what jumps out at you? What comes to mind when you see the current state of the ladder?
That us and Essendon are the pretenders in there. That we've got no history in there in the last 5 years.
True.
Where the others have.
True. I like looking at this every week. Yeah, I just want to see what everyone is seeing.
And I mean that with love. Like, yep. I just think you can see the other, like Sydney, they can go back to a granny.
Mm-hmm.
They played grannies a few times. Brisbane are always in the semi-finals. Fremantle, only a few years ago, they were in a granny.
We're still consolidating from last year.
Like, we've just had one good year, and suddenly we're second, we're in the mix. So, like, we're having to learn on the fly, where these guys can probably have about 30 players on their list that have been there and done it.
Yeah. Collingwood 2 games out of the 8. It's tight. Every year I think there's commentary around how even and tight the competition is. I don't remember the top 8 race being this tight with this many teams this deep into the year.
Yeah, I mean, when we did the season preview, I mean, I said I think this was going to be the hardest flag to win, because I genuinely think so many sides have got better. Like, Hawthorn don't surprise me being there. I thought they were going to do this jump last year, but they've really committed to it. And you got the reigning premiers, 13th. Says it all. Like, you've only got to be slightly off, and you see it as well, don't you, in game? That teams seem to get ahead of them, each other. There seems to be so many peaks and troughs in games, don't they, now? Like, 6-goal spurts out of nowhere. It's really tough. So I think this is hard for the Blues. Like, the Blues are really we haven't got that experience. We're learning as we go, where the other teams, they've been here and done it. So it's exciting. Second makes you proud. Shows how hard we are.
This is the first year we are the litmus test for a lot of teams. Just like what we used to say about those top 4 teams. You know, this will tell us where we're really at. That's what I noticed there. Who out of the 8, excuse me, who out of the 8 will come into the 8, if anyone?
I've got a sneaky feeling that the Doggies and Melbourne displaced the bottom 2 sides. Yeah.
Interesting.
I want to say the Hawks, eventually, I don't think they can sustain it. Same. I really don't. I know, and trust me, no one's a bigger closet Hawks fan than me. I'm a big Sam Mitchell fan, but I just don't think. I think eventually you get found out at this level.
Okay,
they're playing on fumes.
I agree with that. I'm with you because no matter what, it'll still be I mean, they've won 10 games. It's a remarkable result for them.
And I had to go on that Geelong podcast, and everyone was saying we've cooked Geelong, and I was like, Geelong will come back quickly.
Yeah.
And look what's happened. Like, class is permanent, form is temporary. And I feel like Port are 1 loss away from the wheels falling off, and I think Essendon are 1 more loss away from the wheels falling off.
Thoughts on the Lions?
Well, they haven't lost. When we did that show, I said I don't think they'll lose a game till the end of the year. I still don't. I think the Hawks are. I think the Lions are just going to hit form at the right time.
Okay. Let's look at the week ahead. Oh, I've kind of already done this, hey?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Carlton Port. How does the game play out this week? It's very early to be previewing, but how do you see it?
We beat Port.
Yep. Can the Kangas beat the Cats?
No, calm down.
They can't? Okay.
Skilda Bombers.
Yeah.
Skilda look like honestly, Skilda are so hard, aren't they? St Kilda are like, trying to work out if someone on Instagram with a filter really looks like that.
Yep.
Like sometimes they're a 10 out of 10, sometimes they're a 1, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? It's tough. It's tough. I just feel the way Demons play, that St Kilda win that.
Okay.
I don't know why. I don't know if that's Mrs. Pom in my ear.
It might be. It might be.
I just feel like Essendon play fucking ugly.
Yep. And most of their fan base have been saying it for weeks. It's funny how the mentality of a fan base trickles through. Like they were expecting the drop off.
Yeah. I think St Kilda were lucky last year, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I think Essendon have overperformed way too early. A bit like we talked about my sex life before 21. That I am Essendon shot my shot way too early. Brisbane will smash Gold Coast.
Okay. At People's First Stadium. All right.
We're starting to give places fucking power. Jesus, Brisbane way too clever.
Melbourne GWS, cracking game at the G.
I see. I agree with you there. Like I know everyone's jumped off Melbourne. They know how to win, and Max Gawn's back, and I think that's big.
Yep.
He's Cripps to them. He's the leader. He's the heart and soul.
Yeah, he is the spirit. Okay. Freo at home. Well, I mean, they're both at home, but Freo, West Coast.
If West Coast win that, sack Longmire.
Okay. Collingwood to beat the Tigs at the MCG? Surely.
Have to. But I'll say this: Richmond impressed me at the weekend. They've got a little heart, haven't they? They're doing the right thing. They're playing the kids.
Let me just see what that looks like. Oh, wow.
They're playing the kids, aren't they? They're giving them. But I also think Richmond, you've got an era now. You've got to be looking at picks. Do you know what I mean? Which is funny because the shitter they are, even though they've traded out their pick this year, haven't they? From memory. Let me just bring my spreadsheet up. Right, do you know what I mean? Provisional, here we are. Right, there we are. Yeah, they've traded out their future pick. They want to bank that they're not very good to sell these 2 years of first.
Mm-hmm.
So, do they want to win? Do you know what I mean? Like they've got their first year. It was the next year's that. Yeah, okay, there we are. The debt was paid this year, so they want pick 1 or as close to, because they can get Josh Smiley, who is everything they need.
What is he?
Imagine Cripps had a love child with Bont.
Okay, wow.
That's potentially where it could be.
That's big. I've tipped the Dogs to beat the Swans at the SCG. I don't know why. This is why I'm a bad tipper. I think I just want to find a reality where we can finish on top still.
Yeah, I think Sydney absolutely put Dogs back in their place.
Okay. And
but
then
who knows?
Finally, the Crows and the Hawks.
It's funny how it goes because, you know what I mean, at the start of the season, you say Hawthorn are a smoky for the 8, everyone says, fuck off, back on your boat and go home. And now Hawthorn are the best side in the league because of their form. It's interesting. I mean, at the AO, Hawks should win this, but everything's going their way. Like, I was impressed with Hawks. I gave them kudos. Everything's going their way, though. I think Adelaide win at home.
Okay.
Like, I'd love Hawks to be 8. I just don't see it. But, like, Collingwood, we're as bad as Collingwood could be.
Yeah. All right. Chat, I think we're going to continue this predictor on the team show this week. I think that's what we're going to do. And that is the Blue Abroad show. That is 2/3 of Monday Mayhem here on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. Hey, Pommy, thanks so much for doing the ratings and this, man.
Tell you what, it's. I'm looking forward to having something to eat. But
same. Can't wait to go eat my feelings.
Mrs. Pommer's got peppered steak, and I've smelt the boys have theirs. And it's a bastard. I tell you, I'm sat here and I'm just like, fuck you, boys.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Thanks to Cannoleria for sponsoring the show. Guys, thanks to those of you who watched your champion community. Stick around. The Almost Blues Brothers are live in 30 seconds. Have a good night. Go Blues.
Go Blues.